What exactly do you think art is in general?
Oh man, it's a huge question.
Yes,
It's a massive question. I feel like something is artistic if the original impetus for creation is the act of creation and is only the final product. Let's say I wanted to create a piece of music that gave the listener the impression of something microscopically small. If I could do that, that would be art. It wouldn't really matter to me how I did it, though. It's just doing that thing through a creative process.
Kind of takes a long time of not only dedication but discipline to get your craft to a level where you can be creating art. But it sounds like with what you've come to understand about art, you wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
I think I would.
You would, okay.
I think I would agree with that because I don't think that creating something that's artistic can really happen without any experience in the medium that you're working with. Like the process itself would mean that the process would generally be highly complex and specialized.
To me, it seems almost like what you're saying is that you need to put in the hard work to get to the point where you can do the art. Doing that is result-oriented, which can't be the art itself.
It's almost like this.
It's interesting.
Totally. It's like you put in all the hard work so that you can understand what making art is. And I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to say. I'm still trying to figure out what I would have to do in order to make art. I feel like I've never made art. I feel like I've made tons of music, and lots of people like the music that I make. A lot of people, and depending on what it is, I've had certain projects that that a lot of people liked, had a lot of fans. But because I was doing it, knowing what I had to do to get people to like it, I was essentially copying an aesthetic that was already out there. I wasn't creating some aesthetic. I was seeing what the demand was and trying to do that so that people would like it.
So what you're saying is it takes a long time to become yourself.
Yes.
That's a good way. Very long time to become yourself.
That is a good way to put it. Yeah, and I think that I think that art is honest. It's true. It is the person, not a process that that's been done a bunch of times, basically.
What suggestions do you have to aspiring musicians to get through that part where it's feeling like just the hard work and get to where you're feeling like you can be making art?
Oh, that's a great question.
And so, I mean, I don't know if that's something that can be answered if you don't even feel like you've gotten to that point, or at least consistently.
I think I can give some advice in that way. When I look back on myself as a young musician, here's the things I do not regret. I do not regret the amount that I practiced. I practiced a lot. I don't regret all of the educational stuff. I don't regret barely anything. There's really only one regret I have, and I think this is probably that key to making art, is that there was a time when I first started that I would play things and write things that I had absolutely no idea why I was choosing these things, other purely than just because they either sounded good or my brain was like, oh, that might be interesting, so let's just do that. And I would create these little songs and things that literally came purely from my aesthetic sense with no predetermined idea of what it should be. And the more I learned about music, the less I was able to do that. And now I feel like a big goal for me is trying to get back to this place of rediscovering music without any preconceived notions. So I guess my advice for a young person would be, do all of your lessons and learn everything that you're being taught, but never think that that is the only thing, or that there isn't significantly more out there that's not in the books that you're reading and that you're not getting from your teacher, because you're only getting less than 1% of what's out there. And the real thing that's going to bring you that sense of musical and artistic fulfillment is the stuff that comes from you. Right? The stuff that you can't explain to anyone because you don't even know. You can't explain it. It's just, that's what happens. That's the real stuff there. And for a long time I just kind of ignored that stuff. And I wish I hadn't. Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Somebody figured all this stuff out. Somebody figured it out. So you can do it on your own and you can be completely you. But the whole thing is that having these kind of guidelines and lessons and whatnot it accelerates the process. And so, what would you say to people using Practicing Musician for, one, how to not get lost in the process of just using our program systematically, but two, how to motivate yourself to keep going without the kind of, well, if they don't have a teacher, the typical teacher-student relationship?
Right, those are good questions. For kind of staying creative while in the middle of a step-by-step process like that, I think the advice I would give, and this can be tough for people to do, but advice I might give would be, every time you learn something, see how you can creatively change it once you've learned it.
Okay.
So say you learn a new exercise. Can you memorize that exercise and then change all of the C's to F's and try it like that? Or can you play it backwards? Can you read it backwards? Can you, I don't know, play the first half of it as eighth notes and the second half of it as half notes? Just whatever is in your ability to change that music and then execute the changes that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
That can be really challenging and fun, and it's incredibly good for your creative musical mind, just to be able to transform things like that. In addition to that, I would highly recommend try as hard as you can to learn the songs that you like to listen to. Even if they're way above your they're way too hard for you now, just start now. All of your things you have to do, right? You're practicing musician. I'm doing this, I'm getting better, I'm gonna learn all this music fundamentals, and that's awesome, you need to do that. But over here, you can say, okay, I did that, did my half hour, now I'm gonna go play some, I don't know, Justin Bieber songs and get through that. And I know when I was younger, that's what kept me going. I said earlier that I practiced, for at least 4 hours a day. That was only a half an hour of the method book and 3.5 hours of playing along with my CD player.
Yes.
That wasn't 4 hours of the method book. No way. I never would have made it.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you got to be doing what's interesting to you.
Yeah.
Say somebody's using the Practicing Musician and they don't have a teacher, they're not in a group class. How do they stay motivated to continue learning?
That's a great question. I think I would draw from my own personal experience on this, and experience not related to music, which would be learning other things on my own, and then staying motivated. And what I find is that in those situations, you have to use it as you learn it. So let's say you get 10 chapters in and you have learned to read quarter notes, you've learned a couple of positions on your instrument. At this point, it's almost essential, if you don't have a teacher, to then branch out and take your own initiative, get online and learn to play your favorite Green Day song, or learn to play that bass riff from Seinfeld, or whatever it is. Take that initiative outside of the program and learn some piece of music that you like to listen to or that you recognize the sound of. And then continue doing that every so often, so you're using the skills. Right? Even if you don't have someone to play it for, it'll still be satisfying to play whatever the song is correctly. It's like that for me. And then if you can continue to learn these little songs along the way, you'll always have a next checkpoint and a next goal as you go.